Hi, everybody. Today on Ask the Expert series, I'm here with Janine and Emma. Janine is Managing Director and Emma is the Business Account Manager of Aesthetic Insure. Aesthetic Insure is an Irish insurance broker that specialises in helping medical professionals buy medical insurance, and they also have an in-house underwriting team. Their specialist team can help you find and compare the most suitable policies offered at competitive prices. So, Janine and Emma, you are very welcome and thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having us.
A pleasure. So, I'll start with one of the most important questions is, as a clinic owner, why do I need aesthetic insurance?
Okay, so apart from obviously the regulatory body requirements, which obviously are different depending on which regulatory body you are a member of, if you are a member of one, it's peace of mind. All insurance is peace of mind, really. It takes the weight off your shoulders if something actually does go wrong, that somebody is there to help you. Insurance companies are, they do this day in, day out. They're the best people to handle any claim or any situation. And they're there to give you support and guidance. They say they do this every day in, day out, and they've got all the experts that can help you. It basically saves you time as well, so you can concentrate on your business. The last thing you want to do is to be all caught up in solicitors' letters, court cases, etc., etc. When your insurers will do all that for you. And the obvious thing, obviously, it will protect your assets. So if something does go horribly wrong, then your assets are protected. Insurance is a necessity. And we often find that people don't really appreciate that until the time of a claim, and then they can see how their money is actually really well spent.
Yeah. Indeed, and all the time spent as well in trying to fix the issue. It's the best thing in the world to have to be covered by insurance, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. As a clinic owner or a practitioner, what types of cover might I need?
So at Aesthetic Insure, we do offer a variety of cover to suit your needs. So whether that be medical malpractice insurance or clinic insurance, public liability, we can provide cover to suit a whole range of needs. So if you're just performing treatments, then that's where the medical malpractice cover would kick in, and that would protect you and allow you to perform your treatments with peace of mind, knowing that we cover the treatments themselves. The likes of public liability and clinic insurance we also provide. So if you have your own clinic and you have people coming into the clinic, and for example someone was to slip or trip, and that's where the public liability cover would kick in, and we would also provide cover for that, and the clinic insurance as well. So if you have your own premises and you've got stock and contents and equipment inside, then we can also provide cover as well. We do also have a lot of practitioners that use the likes of high value laser machines, things like that. We do offer a special machinery cover too, which is really important because obviously some of the laser machines are very expensive pieces. It's really important that you get those covered just in case something was to go wrong.
That's really important. Thank you. What do you need to look out for when taking out a medical malpractice policy?
Okay, that's a good question, and it's not all about the premium, although obviously it's an important factor for many practitioners, especially when they're first starting practicing, because obviously they have to keep costs to a minimum. So premium is important to certain people, but it's also important that you look at the small print. Not every little minute detail of the policy wording. Obviously, it is important that you read the policy wording at some point, but when you're first taking out cover, you have to look at things like excesses. So you might have a really low premium, but if you actually had an excess on your policy, any sign of a claim, and you could be in for another £1,000 for an excess, etc. So it's important to look what treatments attract what excesses on that particular policy. Limits of indemnity are also obviously extremely important, and that can be dictated by your regulatory body or indeed where you actually are practicing. So if you're practicing in a big store, for example, they might insist you have a certain limit of indemnity. And that can range from 1 to 2 to 5 to 10 million euros. Our standard policy starts at 5 million euros, and that, to be honest, is more than adequate, but that's our standard. But we have seen on the market some insurers coming in with €200,000, things like that, which, although you think is a lot of money, if you really damage somebody's face, a young person's face, and depending on their as well, if they were, a YouTuber, which is obviously quite at the moment, then claims can run into tens of thousands, and then you have the legal costs on top. So it is important that the limited indemnity is adequate and more than adequate. And also it's important to have a look if there's any added benefits, as for example, our basic policy also throws in public liability cover. Which again is important if someone slips or trips or you damage somebody's property or etc. Then the public liability is great to have. And we also offer a helpline, which is really important. So you have direct access to lawyers who specialise in this sort of area. So again, it's just looking at the extras that you might get that actually you might find really, really helpful, especially if you do have a client that starts to complain or you do get a legal letter come through. It's just making sure that you're totally covered and you've got everything you think you might need at the time of the claim.
Now that's excellent, because that really does give really peace of mind, and it just shows that cheapest is not often best. As you said, even like what we do with our holiday travel insurance, you can often go for the cheapest one, but then you might find there's a massive excess if something goes wrong. So very important to think about all these things. And as you said earlier on, even about covering the aesthetic machines, etc. It's a lot, it's an awful lot you need to think about. How do I avoid claims?
So that's the golden question, really.
Yeah.
So how does one avoid claims? So claims, you can't stop from claiming against you. It's inevitable. Even the safest of practitioners, run the risk of, the wrong patient making a claim. Or again, the safest practitioners' treatments can go wrong. So how to avoid them? So there's a variety of different ways that can help mitigate that. So there's the likes of record keeping. So that is really important. So your records act as your defense in the event of a claim. So sometimes people think, like consent forms, before and after photos. They might not be that important, but actually they are crucial. So, if someone were to make a claim against you, you need that evidence there to support your case, basically. So it's really important that you keep your records for up to 10 years. And that is actually a condition of the policy, just to have those at hand and have access to those at all times, just in case. Another way to sort of avoid claims is managing patients' expectations. A lot of patients, may go into the treatment with unrealistic expectations, wanting certain outcomes, or they might not be aware of the side effects or even the downtime that a treatment can have. So it's really important that you're open, honest, transparent, and just lay the law really, and just say, look, this is what you're expected. This is the potential outcomes. This is what can go wrong, just so that the patient is fully informed and can make a decision. Again, a lot of that is covered within the consent forms. So again, they go hand in hand really. So it's crucial to make sure that both of those are complete. Again, I'd also say that it's really important to keep your training up to date. It sounds obvious, but the industry is ever changing. As we know, there's so many different treatments and different machines and things like that that are coming out all the time. So as you're, advancing in your treatment, it's also really important to keep the training up to date and to make sure as well, if you employ staff, that all of the staff feel fully equipped and confident to perform those treatments as well. Just making sure that everyone feels confident and, fully knowledgeable and trained and comfortable.
Very good. And it's also, I suppose, technology can help here as well. I suppose if a clinic is using a booking or patient management system, that's allowing them to record the decision-making process along the way with face mapping or anything like that, just to pinpoint and show and have the before and after records directly with the client records. So they have everything to hand. Isn't that right? Yeah. Very good.
It's also important to make sure that your client's mental health is that they're happy with their mental health. We do find that claims are now attracting monetary awards because people are claiming that it's really affected their mental health. It's obviously a lot more prevalent now than it ever used to be. So it's really important that if you suspect a client is having the treatments for the wrong reasons, then maybe it's turn them away.
Yeah, no, that is very, very good advice. Thank you. If I have a complication, at what point should I contact my insurer?
So as soon as you become aware that there may be a dissatisfied patient, you should let us know in writing. So it's really important that you let your insurers know, just so that they can make a note of it and handle it, provide you with support and assistance, and just provide advice and give you guidance on how to basically mitigate it going any further. So whether that's just issuing simple refunds or giving you guidance on how to respond to a complaining customer, things like that. So whether it just be someone verbally or even written complaints, whether you've received things like that, or all the way down to solicitors' letters, of course, you should be receiving those if you receive it. Just to basically give you some peace of mind, if you notify your insurers, then they can provide you with expert advice, they can provide you with support. We also have a medico-legal helpline as well, which is accessible 24/7. So at all hours of the day, they're at hand to give you their expert advice and support as well. So they just help you manage any, complaints or claims, notifications, things like that.
That's really, really good. And it's very reassuring that there is that 24 helpline as well to help. I think the first step, if somebody has, especially if they can just reach out to you, just get you involved in the process, it's almost like a problem shared, and it just sort of helps ease the pain, doesn't it, of the whole thing.
And sometimes it's not the client that's complaining, the practitioner themselves realise that they've done something that might cause, an adverse reaction. And again, we'd advise them to contact their insurers, just so it's noted on the records. And they should obviously keep all their consent forms updated. So if there is an issue within the treatment, it clearly shows on the medical records. So it is important, and it's not always the practitioner that realises that there could be an issue. Sometimes it's maybe a receptionist that hears the client complaining on their way out, or perhaps the receptionist answers the phone. So it's important that the whole team knows what to do if they hear of anyone making a complaint or thinking things have gone wrong. So the whole team must be aware, so that the insurers can be.
That's really, really good advice. Thanks, Janine. Will reporting an incident increase my premium?
Okay, so we've just obviously advised that every notification really should come through to the insurers regarding of whether a claim actually pursues. We would like, I suppose, to reassure clients that it doesn't always increase premiums. We do want to know if there's been an incident, but unless an actual claim comes about, gets serious, obviously solicitors get involved, etc., it's very likely that your premium will increase, because it's just it's unfair, really. We're asking you to tell us if anything's gone wrong or if anybody's murmured a complaint, and then on the other hand, every time somebody tells us, we put on premium increase. That's what the practitioners therefore will not start to notify us, and then it could become a real problem with not in time. And obviously, if a client is aware that it's a potential claim, maybe even having received lawyers' letters, etc., and they're keeping it away from us because they don't want to affect their premium, they could end up jeopardising their cover altogether. So no, we'd always encourage practitioners to advise us if there is a notification, and no, it doesn't automatically increase premiums. Premiums will only really be increased with regards to a claim if the claim
comes through. Very good, thank you. Now, for the salon owners who are working with nurses and doctors, can I ask on their behalf, if they're offering injectables to clients at their salon, does the salon owner need specific insurance of their own for these services provided by doctors and nurses at their salon, or can they rely on the insurance policy of the nurse or doctor?
That's a really good question. What usually happens if a nurse or a doctor is just going into a clinic once or twice a week, the nurse or doctors usually like to have their own insurance. And because they can use their insurance wherever they decide to practice, not just in the clinic. But we would always advise a clinic owner to check the policy to make sure that they do have a policy in force. But we'd also advise the clinic owner to get what we call entity cover, because at the end of the day, it's the clinic that's accepting the payment for the treatment. It's probably the clinic that's arranging the appointment. Therefore, if there is something that goes wrong, the patient is likely to go to the clinic and the lawyer's letter is likely to go to the clinic, and therefore the clinic's insurance will take on the claim, and they will subrogate back to the nurse or doctor that treated the patient if possible. And sometimes, because people do have up to 2 years to make a claim, it could be that that nurse or doctor moved on, they've fallen out, they've gone abroad, whatever the situation is. Obviously, then the clinic is in trouble because they can't rely on the nurse or doctor's own insurance. So we'd always advise someone, a clinic owner, to have what we call entity cover.
Entity cover.
And that will name the actual practitioner on the clinic policy as well. But of course, you know, if the nurse or doctor has their own insurance and they're still working at the clinic's insurance will more than likely subrogate back to the nurse or doctor's insurance, and therefore the claims history of the clinic is kept fairly clean. But we would always advise entity cover.
Just following what Janine said there, it's also really important that the clinic notes the injecting practitioner on their policy, just in case. So even if the nurse and the doctor has evidence, their insurance, things like that, if perhaps they weren't compliant with one of their conditions or something like that, where their, you know, policy was voided, you know, they weren't compliant with their conditions or they haven't paid the agreed premium or things like that. So although they can confirm that they've got the insurance might not necessarily be applicable because they haven't been compliant. So it's really important that the clinic has their element of protection just in the event, like I say, just under those circumstances as well, really.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's really, really interesting because it's obviously there's a huge surge in demand in Ireland, specifically especially over the last 5 years. So many new clinics opening, but so many salon owners offering these services now to their clients and partnering up with doctors and dentists to come in once a week or twice a week. So this is a really important element for them to be aware of. Thank you very much. What advice would you give to a practitioner?
Okay, so I suppose for a claim to be successful, the claimant has to prove you were negligent in some way. And I suppose my biggest advice would be records. Ensure that your records are really up to date, because that's what is used to your defence. That's what your insurers use. And if you haven't got any records or your records aren't up to date, then it's very hard for an insurer to defend the claim, and a claim is likely to stick. So another piece of advice we would say is work with your insurance broker. Ensure your treatment lists and your practitioner lists are all up to date. And your policy is there to protect you. So use it and ensure you read it. That's the biggest advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd just like to follow on from that. It's crucial to ensure that the policy is updated with any kind of additional treatment that you're offering or any additional staff member. Just things like that, really. It's vital that we know so that we can then tailor your policy to you and your needs. You know, if our policies are bespoke, and they are specialists, so if you have any queries or anything like that, you can always pick up the phone to us. You know, we'd be happy to talk you through any queries that you have. And like I say, we'll tailor your policy to you.
That's fantastic. It's a really value-add service, especially the fact that they can just ring and ask for advice as well. You know, it's not just all about the black and white, about the policy itself. Thank you for joining our Ask the Experts series today, where we've been chatting to Janine, Managing Director, and Emma of Aesthetic Insure. Together, just to let you know, we've produced a free ebook guide to aesthetic insurance to guide you through all of the essentials. Scan the QR code here on the screen or visit the resources section on our website, www.websitesforclinics.com, or click the link below in the video notes. Thank you again, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.